Hello everybody, we're in Las Vegas here in a Siemens booth, and there's a brand new product here from Siemens, the eXplore Tour. We're here with Chris Stevens. So Chris, give us, what is the mission and why the CES as one of the must-stops?
For the Mobile Explore Tour?
Yes.
So what we learned about 5, 6, 7 years ago is our customers wanted this physical experience. Mm-hmm. So we started launching, and a lot of our competitors did as well, we started launching experience centers all over the country to try to make it easy for them to go to a center. Because when we talk about the real world and the virtual world and those two coming together, I mean, there's no better place than an experience center, or in this case now a mobile experience center. So this is no different. And so one of the challenges, our customers are extremely busy. And so the reason why we went mobile with this is now we can come to their site, we can work with them on the scheduling that makes sense, come there, and now they can get, their whole company can get this experience. And that's what we're extremely excited about.
Got it. Now let's double click on this real versus digital world and walk us through what's inside for a C-level or a plant manager that is going to go to the show. What's the aha moment for that person that you couldn't relate that through a deck of slides or something like that?
Yeah, so great question. So again, I'll go back to the experience centers versus maybe a conference room. So when we go to their conference room, we show up to their conference room. We're showing PowerPoint, we're having discussions, we're having whiteboards. Mm-hmm. That's all virtual for the most part.
Right.
What they really want to see, and the reason why we had to launch the experience centers, they want to see it physically work. They want to see it in action. So now when we bring this mobile experience to their facility, so we bring it to them as opposed to them coming to us, they can see both the real and the virtual world. What we just heard in the keynote is Jensen just talked about, the CEO of NVIDIA. It's not we want to have, it's not something that we want to desire, it's something that you have to do today. So what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to virtually simulate your plants before you do anything. And what that means is you're going to simulate everything. You're going to simulate logistics, you're going to simulate the layout, you're going to simulate all the different aspects with manufacturing as it relates to the virtual world. And then that, once you simulate that, then you're going to take all those learnings that you have in the virtual world and apply it to the physical world. Well, that's something that we haven't been doing for decades. That's something we've been doing for years. And so they're going to want to see that experience in action, which is why when you go into the truck, you're going to see, yes, you're going to see screens, and you're going to see simulations, you're going to see your software working, but more important, you're also going to see hardware. And that's when companies are going to realize the values, when they see the software talking to the hardware and applying that to their operations.
Got it. Now you're going to take this to a tour, as you've mentioned, and it's going to be an industrial setting, going to be government buildings. How is this immersive experience going to hit home with, let's say, an engineer, but also a policymaker?
Yeah, so, well, definitely two different worlds, but not really when it comes time to how does the technology work. Mm-hmm. Whether you're in policy or in government or government affairs, they want to see it work.
Right.
And what I mean by that, when you go into the truck, for instance, we have a robot in there. And so robotics is huge. Robotics is the next wave of automation, has been for years, and it will continue to be. And so when you go in there, what you can see is you can actually see the digital twin of what's happening on the table. So we have a robot doing pick and place, and with different shapes, different sizes, different speeds. And what you'll see is there'll be a failure or fault, and then you'll see it on the screen. So when you start seeing both the actual physical robot, what's happening here, and what's happening in the virtual world, and you're seeing those alerts, and you're seeing maybe some of the suggestions on how you're going to fix that, and you're going to fix that in a virtual world before you apply it to the physical world, they're going to see both worlds. They're going to see that in action. That's something typically they don't have today. Right. So that they're going to want to experience that before they make millions and millions of dollars of investments, even in some cases before they make $200,000 investments. So these are significant investments for them. More important than the money, it's probably the time and the loss of production potentially. So they need to see it work before we're actually going to go execute something with them at their company, or if we're going to get any sort of support from policy or government, they're also going to want to see that work before they say, yes, this makes sense, we're going to certify this, we want, manufacturing, the Center of Excellence for Manufacturing, want them to implement this and show the world how it's done.
Got it. Now, the tour includes the immersive zone and AI demos. Beyond this impressive technology, what's the key human element or the aha moment that you want the visiting executive to have about their own leadership and the future of their company?
The aha moment, so again, I'll refer to the keynote because I just walked from the keynote, so
Yes.
for Venetian to hear. I thought what was pretty cool, one of the coolest things that Roland showed is our partnership with Meta. And so what they showed is they showed an operator, her name was Sarah in this case. She was showing up basically the first day of operations for her, so she's going to run the shop floor. Well, she doesn't have years of experience on the shop floor, unlike maybe some of our counterparts have been there for 10 years, and they can listen to a machine and actually know what's happening. In this case, the use case they showed is her putting on the glasses, her walking up to the machine, and the machine starts suggesting, hey, this is this ran 10% less productivity less. This was 10% less productive today than it was yesterday. Maybe you want to change these parameters. Here's a suggestion. And oh, by the way, here's a simulation I ran to show you that it can happen. And so here's somebody that's just starting on their first day is now saying, oh, now I can change these parameters, or maybe I need to do a reset, or whatever those cases would be, on day one. And so what it shows you is we can take all that knowledge and experience that exists on the shop floor and give it to somebody literally on the first day. But again, that's human in a loop. We're not saying we're going to do it automatically. What we're saying is we're going to make suggestions to the human. The human still has to do the execution. The human still has to say, yes, I think that makes sense. I'm going to go do that. Or let me double check another simulation before I actually execute that because I don't want to disrupt production. But we're giving all that knowledge to that human on day one. So we're just making that person that much more impactful and effective on day one. And so humans will never be out of the loop. Humans will always be in the loop when we talk about AI.
Yeah, that's always been an issue, is training the operators. The saying is that it takes about 18 months to get them fully trained for a machine. Yes, it's the average operator stage for 6 months. So if you can empower that organizations to make that operator productive from day one, that is an awesome thing.
It's a great point. I'm glad you brought that up. One of the statistics I always like to talk about is it used to be you could train an operator. So if you're an operator, I could train you with the latest and greatest technology on the shop floor. You would be good for 7 years. Now that's less than 3 years. So now learning and development needs to be in your DNA. Well, you talk at the use case I just talked about, guess what? That becomes much easier. And what our CEO likes to say a lot is, because I know there's this fear of losing jobs, whatever, you're not going to get replaced by AI. You're going to get replaced by somebody using AI, and I think that's very important.
Got it. Now, talk a little bit about what the expectations for eXplore tour and for, let's say, an inspired business leader who took the tour, loves it, and what's the goal? Is it to start a pilot? Is it to shift the strategy or build a different partnership with Siemens?
Yeah, I just had a great conversation with our implementation teams, and what I talked about was we very much want to use this as a vision. We say every customer deserves a vision, and one of the first things we want to do is align with our customers on a vision. What does that look like? What is their vision versus what is our vision? Well, this is our vision, right? So the first thing we want to do is align what are they thinking versus what are we thinking. That's critical. Once we understand that, then we can start putting out roadmaps 3 or 4 or 5 years, and more importantly, start looking at the impact areas that are going to make the most impact to them and their business in a short period of time. What this is going to do is help align on the vision. Let's figure out what that vision is. Let's start building roadmaps against that vision. Once we do that, they're going to want to see it in action. They're going to want to see. They're going to want to see it in action. They're going to want to see it a pilot. They're going to want to see a proof of concept. My desire is maybe then take them to our experience centers, the physical experience centers we have that are part of this manufacturing center of excellence in the U.S. and use those as the POC or pilot phase, or actually go to their facilities and show it in their facility on one of their assembly lines how we would actually implement this pilot or POC. Once we have that approval, then we're off and running. Then we're going to phase 1, phase 2, and then we're building on this roadmap that we set out initially with the truck.
Thank you very much, Chris. And if you're in the audience, you have questions, or you'd like to see the tour, see the link before, or leverage the hashtag, and we'll get the question addressed by Chris and his team.
Yep. Thank
Good
you
luck
very
with the
much.
show.
Appreciate it.